Bob Wallace is a businessman who has founded 3 tech companies. It's an IT service provider, energy services company, a training company for women and minority business owners, doing a lot of things. Very busy man, and is taking the time out to embark on a campaign for what I call the toughest job in Baltimore, which is being the mayor of this great city. And so I want to welcome to the show, Mr. Bob Wallace. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, brother. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. And so I often say that being the mayor is the toughest job in the city. What would make you want to have such a difficult job?
Amen, brother. That's a question I ask myself a lot these days in terms of why I want to do this. I guess for me, it comes down to my love for the city of Baltimore. I love this city. I love the people, and I've just not been happy with the way that we've been going as a city. I've not been happy with the results that we're seeing from our leaders. I have supported many mayors since since actually Mayor Schaefer. And I've written a lot of checks and tried to help as best I can. But I just haven't been happy with the leadership of the city. And so versus complaining about it, I said, let me do something to try to see what I could do to make it better. And so that's the reason why I'm running. You're right. It's going to be one of the most difficult jobs out there to be done. No question about that. But we have to do what's hard in order to realize our greatness. And so I am prepared to step up to do what I can to help make that happen. But it indeed will be a very difficult job.
Yes, absolutely. So when it comes to the office and when it comes to the city of Baltimore, what do you think? And I know it's going to be difficult to narrow down one thing, but what do you think is the single most important issue that is impacting Baltimore?
So most people, when I get asked that question, they expect me to say public safety or crime. I mean, that obviously is always in the news, front and center. We have to deal with the wire and all of that has created this image of Baltimore that's not very flattering. But I would say to you, the number one issue, in my opinion, is resolving the economic inequality gap in our city. I'll give you some examples, some stats. So two-thirds of our population in our city, you may or may not know this, 2/3 of our population struggle. They struggle every day to make ends meet, to make financial ends meet. 1 out of 4 of us live below the poverty level. One out of 4 of us live in food deserts where we don't have stores to buy fresh food.
Right.
1 out of 3 don't have automobiles to get to work. I mean, and you go down the list, of things, and what I have found is the root cause of many of the issues we face in this city is economic inequality. And if we fix the economic inequality issue, which is, by the way, connected to the education issue, so
Right.
all these things are interdependent. I totally agree with that. But you asked me the question, what would be the one thing? It would be to get this economy, to build an economy in the city that benefits all the people of Baltimore, and not just the well-educated, not just those who are affluent, but the unemployed, the underemployed, the people who work 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet. Sir, I think those are the things. That's the one thing that I think would turn the city around.
Yes, I agree with that, and I've heard you speak on this before, and so much of what you just said is tied to some of the other issues that are plaguing the city.
Yes, sir.
Solving that crime, that issue it just bringing things up. I mean, because we're talking about a battle between classes.
Yes, sir. Yes,
and
yes.
that's a tough thing. We talked a little bit about, I guess, public safety and youth violence. Do you think that youth violence in the city of Baltimore, because I've seen a lot of stats, and depending on who you ask, youth violence is decreasing or it's spiking. So, and I don't know how both things can be true at the same time.
Right.
Where do you sit with regards to how youth crime is affecting Baltimore?
There's no question in my mind that youth crime is increasing. It is an issue, and I don't need to look at I don't need to look at statistics or data points. I mean, I'm talking living it, right? I give you an example. I decided to, me and one of my staff members, we decided to spend some time on the light rail system, right? Just to see, because I heard all these stories about the things people were experiencing on the transportation system in Baltimore. So we got on light rail. I just wanted to experience it. It was horrible. It was horrible. You had kids smoking marijuana, the languages, the language, harassing senior citizens, just the lawlessness of riding on public transportation. And we concluded, and I see that's indicative of this sense of lawlessness among too many of our young people. And it's so different and contrary to how we were raised as young people. I was raised in Cherry Hill, and the projects Cherry Hill is a tough neighborhood. So I know about poverty. I know about gang violence. I know about drug addiction. My mother was recovering alcoholic. I understand those things, but this sense of lawlessness that we see with our young people, it has to be gotten under control. And so I think that it's a problem, and I think that's getting to be a worse problem. And I always said, and I will continue to say that crime, and everything else, but just say crime will rise to the level to which it's tolerated. So as we as a society tolerate these things, it will rise to that level. And so we must make the point clear to our young people: we will not tolerate this. Now, I'm not saying, sir, that we do have mass incarceration of these young people. As a black man, I'm very sensitive to that, right? They haven't being raised in the 60s and 70s. I'm aware of that and what it has done to our community. On the other hand, we cannot have young people or anyone just thinking they can do whatever they want to anybody else, harming them, and that there are no consequences. There has to be consequences. And so,
do you feel that the kids do not think that there's going to be consequences? Is that part of the audacious nature, that they're not fearing consequences?
Yeah, I think it's twofold. I think, and I'm going to say this, and I always get in trouble when I say it, because people don't like to talk about the real deal here. So when parents don't parent, and they let the streets become the parents, then this is the kind of behavior that we're going to see. So that's one aspect, and nobody wants to talk about that, right? But that's a problem. And the second thing is not fear of consequences. Okay, of consequences here. And so I think that's what we have to realize has to be addressed. And so I don't know if you're a father or not. I'm a father. I have 5 children. I have 11 grandchildren. Right. I raise my kids in a way that they know, here are the guidelines. This is how we wanted to treat one another and speak to one another as a family. This is what I expect of you as your father. And if you can't live with this, or if you cross the line anyway, there are consequences to that. And I think that's how we keep society orderly. And so that's a problem, I think, in the city.
Absolutely. And that's an old school way of doing things. And that's how I was raised as well. Somewhere along the line that has been lost.
Yes.
And we're seeing the results of that. We're seeing the effects of that right now. And so I agree with you on that. with regards to the juvenile offenders, with regards to the strategy that the current mayor has been on, I think that Ivan Bates and our current mayor not on the same page. What would your relationship be like with Ivan Bates? I do think that a strategy has to, I think that both of these offices have to be moving in the same direction for things to work out. So
Right.
what is or could your relationship be like with Ivan Bates?
So I know Ivan Bates personally. We're actually fraternity brothers, and he's a good guy. And I would tell you the truth, his policies and views are probably closer to mine than they are to the current mayor. And so I think we could work together very, very well. I mean, the point you're making, though, is that these two positions, these two leadership positions, have to be able to work together, right? And that would, the city would be hurt if those two could not come together in a very meaningful way. I don't think that they are that far apart, but I do believe I do follow more of the Ivan Bates approach to this, and it is an approach that we as a community have always had. And like you said, something happened along the way, and I have my view on what happened along the way. But we got to restore that order again in how we treat one another and how we live together. And I think that the two positions have to be able to work together, as well as with the federal authorities and at the state level. All four of us, the mayor, Ivan Bates' office, the state, the feds, we all have to be on the same page or close to the same page. We can disagree on certain things, but I think if we have a common destination point and a common mission, we can get past our small differences.
Yeah, and so what you've been talking about, and I've been following your campaign. It shouldn't seem like this, but it seems like what you propose are radical things. It shouldn't be like that because they're sensible things. But the city and the country, but let's kind of focus on the city. The city has been going down this road for a long time with regards to schools, with regards to just the city, the upkeep, so many things.
Yes.
So you coming in would be going against the grain with these common sense, ideas. How long do you think it would take before the citizens could see some progress? I mean, when you talk about education, so many things are wrong. Your approach is common sense, but how long before people could actually see something?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that's a fair question. So let me be perfectly transparent here. As you know, you follow my campaign, and you know a little bit about me. I mean, I have been in business, over 30 years. I've created businesses. I've created hundreds of jobs, helped families, even some of my homeboys from Cherry Hill, gave them jobs. Now their children are getting jobs in our company. So we've got generational benefit that we've been able to accrue. I think to solve the problems of this great city, we're talking about, sir, a generation to fix them. So I don't want anybody to have the misconception that Bob Wallace or any other mayor who you elect is going to fix these issues in one term, not even two terms, right? But here's what we can do. What we can do is that we can light a fire, right? And we can pivot the ship, and we can drive this big ocean liner called the city of Baltimore. We can drive it in the right direction. The problem we have now, sir, is we're going in the wrong direction. And if we keep going in that direction, we're going to go over a cliff. And then it's going to be the point of no return. What I'm suggesting with my candidacy is to let me come in, let me light the fire, let me pivot the ship in the right direction with the help of the people, and then let us together move in that direction. But I think, sir, to your point, and I'm glad you brought that up, because sometimes people have what I call the Obama effect. Do you know what the Obama effect is? So when President Obama was elected
Hope.
in 2008, America was in bad shape. We were, I
Definitely.
mean, we were at the cusp of a depression, right? And there were
Absolutely.
some people who had this belief that President Obama could turn this around in like a year or two. Well, no, he couldn't. And we in business, we call that the Obama effect, right? Right? That
But
person
but
come in
but
and
but
go
one
ahead.
thing about that is that he was, a big part of his campaign was hope and yes we can, and so that aspirational message had people just wishing for the stars and
It did.
stuff
It
that was
did.
unrealistic.
It did. No, and so to be clear, so that reaction that people had, that faith that they had, that passion that you saw and that I saw, because I was there, it was real and it was good, and it was a good thing because it allowed us to pivot and do the hard things, right? That we knew need to be done, but didn't have the courage before him to do it. Well, he had the courage. He had the courage to dare to implement affordable health care for everyone. He had the courage to invest billions into renewable energy technologies. He had the courage, right, to reshape our education system. It does take that kind of courage and energy, and that's what I bring to the table. I bring that same to the table, that same kind of energy and passion. All I'm suggesting to the people of Baltimore is realistically to solve these problems. It will be a generation. It'll be 20 years or so, but we at least in the next mayor's administration, the right mayor, we can start the journey, pivot the ship, going in the right direction, and then build the right team so we can maintain that direction and maintain that momentum that I hope to create as
And,
mayor.
and just to be clear, you're not saying that it would take a generation before they saw any results. You're saying it would take a generation to turn things around.
Absolutely, sir. So
Right.
we'll see results. I mean, I can tell you, especially things that pertain to engineering. As you know, I'm an engineer. My
Right.
career is engineering technology. No, no, sir. There are things that I can do. They'll see change in the first year, even the first 90 days. But I'm suggesting to solve all of these problems in a very meaningful way that it will take a generation. I do
Right.
believe that. Yes, sir.
All right. All right. And I think that is realistic. So I think you said generation, and if I go back a generation, a little bit more than that, I remember the opening of the Inner Harbor.
Yes.
All right, a little bit more than a generation. And so where we are now, as you well know, David Bramble's plan to redevelop Harbor Place, Inner Harbor, is out there. And where do you sit with this proposal? Put these 900 high-rise, luxury condos, apartments, whatever they're going to be down at the Inner Harbor, and what is your thoughts on what could just completely reimagine, I think is the word that they like to use, the Inner Harbor?
Yeah, like you, I remember. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when the Inner Harbor was built, and it was such an amazing place at the time. It was very similar to what was happening up in Boston, and in New York. It was an exciting time, and it was wonderful to be part of it and be part of Baltimore. I know David Bramble. He's a good man. He's a good, smart businessman, successful developer, and I support him. My issue with the project is this. Um, as your next mayor, I am resistant to the city of Baltimore continuing to invest its scarce resources into these big inner harbor projects, these big, things that don't benefit the neighborhoods of Baltimore City. And so that's my number one concern. I also don't believe that we should be building an economy that is based upon residential assets. you know, like these 900 apartments. The people who will live in there, they will not be people from the neighborhoods of Baltimore City. There'll be
Right.
people because they won't be the people. Most of the people in Baltimore cannot afford them. So once again, we're investing in a project that doesn't benefit the neighborhoods and the people in the neighborhoods of Baltimore City. As your mayor, Mayor Wallace, what I'm going to do, I'm going to pivot that emphasis so that we're developing resources in the neighborhoods of Baltimore City where we're using our own businesses to build it. We're using our own employees as the citizens as the laborers. We're using our own young people who might be in the crafts, you know, carpentry, electrical work, bricklaying, heating, ventilation. We're using our local workforce to rebuild our city. The problem I have is every time we have a major project, we go outside of the city to get the resources to build it. And that just makes no sense to me. So, but it also means that our businesses, especially our minority-owned businesses in the city, they have to grow. They have to grow. They have to mature and be ready to assume these big projects. We've got a number of big projects that could be jumping off the drawing board very, very soon. We have the rebuilding of the Key Bridge. We got
That's a big one.
hopefully we want to get the red line light rail system, you know, going again. That's a $3.5 billion project there. The bridge, you're talking about $2 billion, $3 billion investment to rebuild that bridge. We've got the rebuilding of these vacant properties. I mean, we have the projects that will allow us, if we are smart business people, to focus on those, rebuilding those, and that will benefit the neighborhoods and communities. So I like David Bramble. He's a smart guy. The project he's put forth, I'm not excited about having it be residential, you know, but that's my opinion. If the people of the city decide they want to support this and get behind it, then I as your mayor, I will do the will of the people.
Right. And we're gonna have our opportunity to give thoughts on that in the fall.
That's right. Yep.
Right. So you know, you were talking about these projects, and there's so many opportunities throughout the city. Developers obviously want some type of a tax incentive to make some of these deals, and so it's about weighing that out. What's good for the city, what's good for said developer. With regards to the citizens' money propping up this project, how do you feel about that? And projects like this?
Yeah. See, that is so. Initially, we were told, or we understood, that the city was going to have to put up $400 million of either pilot money or TIFs, right? Tax incremental financing. Where basically, it's the city borrowing money to do the infrastructure work for these projects, and then get paid back from the future increased tax revenue, right?
Right.
Well, if you look at the projects that we have done in the city recently, that where we use TIF funding or pilot funding, most of those projects have not penciled out, meaning that the
Absolutely.
city has not gotten the benefit, right? The neighborhoods have not gotten the benefit. The people of Baltimore have not gotten the benefits. The people who benefit are the developers, the investors, the people who live in the county, but who work in the city and then they go back to the county at the end of the day. That's who benefits from these projects. We cannot keep doing this and think that we're going to rebuild our city when 2/3 of our people are struggling economically. So that's where I draw the line. I said, wait a minute, time out. Let us start investing in our neighborhoods, right? And building the people of those neighborhoods. And then we can, as a city, grow together and prosper together.
So how do we invite these businesses? Like, you know, we're talking about food deserts. How do we get healthy food in the community? How do we get some of these businesses to want to come into our neighborhoods?
Yes, sir. Well, we have to change the economic equation, right? I'm a businessman. I get it. These businesses, for example, sir, food markets, the margins, the profit margins in food markets are very thin. They're like 1, maybe 2% are the margins,
Right.
the profit margins that they get. If you add on top of that the cost that's incurred by opening a store, in a high risk, low income neighborhood, you're talking about increasing the cost to operate 3 to 4%. So you take those numbers, you put them together. These businesses say, wait a minute, I'm going to be losing 3% of my investment every year by investing in, let's say, Cherry Hill, where I'm from, or any other neighborhood that is low income and that is struggling, right? So what we have to do as a city is we have to help change the economic equation, the financial equation. What can the city do? What can Mayor Wallace do and his team to minimize the risk for these companies to invest in those areas? So maybe we have to cover some of the costs that the market people, the food industry would normally have to incur on their own. But we have to find a way to deviate or to re-engineer the financial equation, because otherwise the numbers just don't make sense. And
So
money,
are you talking about partnering? Are you talking about almost becoming partners with
it will be
these
the
businesses?
city and the community would need to be a partner with the entrepreneur or with the company looking to invest in that area. Absolutely.
Yeah, that is that's different. That's a different way of doing it. And
It's
in
very
order
different.
to fix some of these problems, we definitely need some different strategies. I know I'm up against the clock. A couple of quick things I want to get to, even though they are important topics. As far as the police officer shortage that is being reported, do you think that we have enough police officers? Do we need more? And if so, what is your idea to how we can attract more?
So no, we do not have enough officers. We are short. Right, last count, about 700 officers. And the reason that's important, this is not about expanding the police state, right? The fact of the matter is that one of the biggest deterrents to crime is the presence of law officers. It's the presence. So the more presence they can have, the more likely we are to prevent crimes from happening. We are short about 700 officers and growing. My plan is threefold. Number one, we're looking to create a program that will accelerate the movement of returning veterans from the service into being BPD officers. They come trained, they come disciplined, they come of the right kind of mentality and attitude. I think that we can accelerate them into that force. That's one part of our plan. Second part of our plan is to integrate out the BPD workforce with the surrounding university workforces, right? And when I say integrate, I don't mean create one big entity, but to cooperate more closely so that we can get better coverage of safety for the people of the city. And then the third thing that we're going to do, we're going to create financial incentives that will incentivize recently retired officers to come back to the force for 1 or 2 years to give me a chance to close the gap of officers that we currently have. Policing is a noble profession. It has been, and recently it has been tarnished, no question about it. It has always been a difficult relationship between policing as an institution and the Black and brown communities of America. No question.
And that's because of the history.
Because of the history. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly right. Police, I tell people this, the other thing I say, I get in trouble with. I say policing as an institution was never designed to serve and protect Black folks. It was designed to control Black folks. So that's a historical fact. We need to recognize that as a society and then move forward together to create a better system.
Absolutely. So recently, earlier this week, one of your opponents dropped out of the race, and to many folks' surprise, immediately endorsed. So Through Vignaraj drops out the race and then immediately endorses Sheila Dixon. Surprised me. I was in my office preparing for my show, and I see the two of them in a joint press conference. I thought something was wrong with my computer. I didn't know what was going on. I just witnessed a debate between you all, and then this happened. So couple of questions. Did Thuroo Vignarajah call you, since he called everybody else allegedly about his endorsement, and what are your thoughts on this recent consolidation of the field?
Well, we did have a conversation, and this happens in campaigns like this one. You get near the end and you start thinking about, okay, what is the right strategy to finish this race? And so we do have conversations with each other. So I was aware of that possibility. I did not know that there would be an endorsement, but I knew there was conversations going on. Look, when I got into this race, I got into this race because I wanted to be the change candidate, right? You got current mayor, you got previous mayor, and then you got Bob Wallace, and you had Thuroo, but now Thuroo's gone. You know, I was the change candidate, and that hasn't changed for me. So I hope that Thuroo supporters, who obviously wanted change as well, would see that Bob Wallace would be their best choice to support me. You know, we are behind in the polls, no question about that, but we have a path. We think we have a path to victory here for this, and I think Thuroo's getting out of the race. I think that gives us some more possibilities and opportunities to close that gap.
I saw the statement that you gave in reference to this topic, and what I thought was interesting about it is that you said, and I'm gonna paraphrase you, basically that the things that Thuroo was saying previous to getting out of the race was true about Sheila Dixon and Mayor Scott. And
yes,
that, you know, so of course now he's saying like Sheila's the best thing, but before he was saying something else. And I thought that was an interesting and an honest observation. Is like, you know, keep the same energy. You were just saying this, now you're saying something else. And you know, so that is one of those things. So it seems to me that between the former mayor and the current mayor, it's personal. Right, like they got like some personal issues. Do you have any personal issues with either of these candidates?
You know what? The only issue I have is performance, right? The performance of, can you fix the problems of the people in the city who have been suffering so long and who have lost hope in the future? That's what my issue is. So if they cannot, if neither of them can address those issues, then they should not be the mayor. And what I'm asking people to consider when they make their decision on who they vote for, all I ask them to do is compare and contrast. Compare Bob Wallace and what he's done, his background, the skills he brings to the table, with my opponents, and compare what is the future that you think Baltimore can be and should be, and then figure out which of the three of us do you think is the best choice to help us to achieve that future. And I ask the voters of the city to consider that. I mean, look, you gave Miss Dixon a shot years ago, and she blew it. You gave the current mayor a shot, you know, and there's debate about whether or not he's done a good job or not. You haven't given Bob Wallace a chance. Why not? Why not? Why not? Why not give change a chance? Why not give change a chance? You say you want change, then give it a chance. And I'm asking the people of Baltimore to consider that.
Yes, change. A lot of people are scared of change.
Yes.
And you know, so
That's
a
so
lot of
true,
people are
brother.
scared
That's
of change.
so true. They say it. They say they want it, but you're right. They're afraid of it. Yes, sir.
Absolutely. So folks have to know that the Maryland primary election early voting centers open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Until May the 9th for this primary election. Anyone in line at 8 p.m. will be allowed to vote. This includes Saturday and Sunday. And so I definitely appreciate you taking time to talk with me and share some information with our listeners. You've stayed over the time that we agreed to, and I really appreciate that. Anything else you want to say before you go?
Yeah, I think just to follow to close on what I said earlier, I remind people when they are, either at their table filling out their ballot or they're in the voting booth, and I want them to listen to their instinct, listen to their spirit, because almost everyone I meet says we need to change, we need new direction, new leadership, new blood. I'm asking them to listen to that voice, listen to it carefully, because the choice we make in this election is going to have long-term consequences. And I think that we need to, as a people, make the right decision. And I would say that your children and your children's children are depending upon you to make that decision and make the right one. So choose well, choose wisely. I know you will. And I thank the people of Baltimore for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Much continued success to you. And
thank you.
Definitely appreciate talking with you, Mr. Bob Wallace, Democratic candidate for mayor of Baltimore City. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Blessings to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.